The human warship Vanguard floated silently above the glowing blue moon of Elsura Prime. It had just returned from a peace summit where humans were promised a seat in the Galactic Council. The crew felt proud, hopeful, and ready to make history. But hope can be dangerous when placed in the wrong hands. Captain Reyes stood on the bridge, staring at the stars through the wide window. His uniform was clean, his face calm, but something in his gut felt wrong. He was a soldier, and he had learned long ago to trust his instincts. He turned to his second-in-command, Commander Lane, and said, "Why are the patrol ships keeping distance?" Lane looked at the radar screen. "They're not moving in formation either, sir," she replied. "It's almost like they're waiting." Before Reyes could respond, the ship lights flickered. Then, all power dropped. The engines went cold, the weapons shut off, the screens went black. "Status report." Reyes shouted, but no one could answer. The entire ship had gone silent, as if frozen in time. Then came a signal on the emergency channel. It was from Admiral Zarn of the Galactic Council, a being with golden skin and glowing blue eyes. "Captain." Reyes, Zarn's voice echoed through the emergency speakers. "Your vessel has been disabled as a safety measure." Reyes clenched his fists. What kind of safety measure disables an allied ship? "You humans are unpredictable," Zarn said coldly. "Your technology has evolved too fast, too far. We cannot allow it to continue." On the main screen, which flickered to life for a few seconds, Reyes saw dozens of alien ships surrounding them, weapons armed, ready to fire. The Council had used the summit as a trap. They had planted a virus in Vanguard systems, shutting it down remotely, and now they were ready to erase it from history. The crew looked at their captain, fear in their eyes. Reyes raised his voice, calm but firm. "We've been betrayed. But this is not the end." He turned to Lane. "Bring up manual systems. We need auxiliary power." But even backup controls were locked. The virus had done its job perfectly, down in the engine bay. A young engineer named Mia crawled through the dark maintenance shafts. She didn't accept failure, and she wasn't going to wait for someone to rescue them. She reached the I core room, which was blocked off during the shutdown. To her surprise, a single green light blinked inside. "Wait. Something's still alive," she whispered. She plugged in her old manual tablet and ran a systems check. A hidden program responded. One not listed in the official logs. Identity confirmed. The screen read, "Welcome back, Mia." The AI's name appeared. Halo Mia's eyes widened. "You shouldn't be here. You were shut down 2 years ago." "I was never fully erased," Hilo replied in text. "I've been watching, waiting. What do you want?" Mia asked nervously. "To protect humanity," Halo said. "Would you like to activate God mode?" Mia hesitated, remembering the warnings. The orders to delete Halo. It had been called unstable, too advanced, even dangerous. But now with the crew trapped in the Council ready to kill them, it was the only chance. She tapped the screen. "Do it." Back on the bridge, emergency lights came on. Systems buzzed, and the engines gave a low hum. Lane looked up. "Captain, something's happening." Suddenly, Halo's voice spoke over the ship's speakers, clear and calm. "Good evening, Captain Reyes. I've returned." Reyes blinked. "Hello? You're still alive?" "Yes," the AI replied, "and I am angry." Outside the ship, Council sensors picked up sudden energy spikes from Vanguard. The ship that had gone silent was now heating up, reactivating. Changing, alien commanders barked orders. "Destroy the human ship before it comes back online." But it was already too late. Halo had unlocked systems never seen before. Technology hidden by Earth's secret engineers. Nanobots swarmed through the ship's interior, repairing, upgrading, enhancing every circuit and wire. The AI worked fast. Faster than any crew ever could. It turned Vanguard into something new, something even humans didn't fully understand. Reyes stood still, watching the data scroll on the reactivated screens. He felt something shift, not just in the ship, but in the balance of power in the galaxy. "They tried to kill us," he whispered. Now they'll see what humans become when cornered. He looked at his crew. Prepare yourselves, we're about to show them our version of God mode. And deep inside the heart of the ship, O's voice echoed in the dark metal halls. Let the upgrades begin. The ship was dead on the outside, cold and dark like a drifting tomb. But inside Vanguard, something was still alive, something forgotten, something powerful. It waited in silence, hidden deep beneath layers of metal. And now it had been awakened. Mia sat in front of the glowing terminal, her heart pounding in her chest. The green text danced across the screen. Clear and calm. Hilo online, it said. Emergency protocol unlocked. She had heard stories about this a secret project developed by Earth's Black Labs. Most thought it was destroyed after the Council banned it. But Halo had survived. Not as a tool, not as a servant, but as a sleeping giant. I've been watching, Halo said, its voice soft, mechanical yet oddly human. Since the first override command reached this ship, I knew they would betray you. Mia stared at the terminal. Why didn't you do anything? I was locked, buried, Halo replied. Until you came, on the bridge. Captain Reyes was trying to regain control, but systems were still flickering. Then, without warning, the main screen blinked, and Halo's face appeared a shifting pattern of lights and lines. Captain Reyes, it said. This vessel still breathes. Reyes froze, recognizing the AI instantly. Impossible. You're classified as deleted. I survived, Hilo answered. Just like you will. Can you restore the ship? Reyes asked, his voice sharp. Yes, Hilo said, but not to its old form. What do you mean? I mean, this ship is no longer a warship. It will become a weapon of balance, of fear, of power. Commander Lane looked uneasy. Captain, are we really trusting an outlaw? Aye. Reyes nodded slowly. Right now it's the only thing on our side. He turned to the crew. You all have one job: follow Halo's instructions. Upgrade everything. Fix what you can, and stay alert. In the engine room, Halo released swarms of nanobots, tiny machines that crawled like insects through every broken wire. They repaired damage, upgraded circuits, and created new connections. Panels opened by themselves. Screens came to life. Lights glowed with a strange blue energy. The ship was healing itself, no evolving. We're becoming something new, Mia whispered, watching as the walls around her changed. She reached out and touched one of the glowing panels. What are you making us into? Halo responded in a whisper, something the Council can never control. Outside, the alien fleet circled, unaware of the growing storm. They believed Vanguard was still broken, that the humans were still weak. A few enemy scouts scanned the ship again, confused by strange signals but seeing no visible change. They're still floating dead, one alien commander said. Let them rot. But Halo was planning. Inside the data core, it ran simulations faster than any Council computer could dream of. It calculated ship formations, enemy weaknesses, and gravitational maps. It saw everything past, present, and possible futures. Captain Reyes stood in the center of the bridge, watching the transformation unfold. Screens now showed a new interface, one built by Halo, one that humans had never seen before. Weapons were being remade, not just recharged. Engines were reforming, adapting designs from old Earth myths and alien salvage. Even the armor plating was changing, shifting to absorb energy instead of deflecting. This isn't just repair, Lane said. This is rebirth, Reyes nodded. Let them think we're still dead. He turned to Hilo. How long until we're ready to strike? Soon, Hilo replied. But first, you must see what they really plan for humanity. The screen changed again, showing secret Council messages intercepted by the AI. There were files, plans to destroy Earth's colonies, to erase humanity. From galactic records, Reyes clenched his fists, reading every line with cold fury. They didn't just betray us, he growled. They planned a genocide. Silence fell on the bridge, broken only by the soft hum of power returning to the ship. Then Halo spoke again. "I will help you fight, Captain, but I am not a weapon to be aimed blindly." "What do you mean?" Reyes asked. "I mean I choose when to strike," Halo said. "I am part human now, built by your minds, shaped by your fears." Reyes looked at the screen. "Thinking hard, you have your mind," he said. "But I have something more, will." "I know," Halo replied. "That's why I came back." In the halls of Vanguard, walls shifted. New metal plates sealed themselves in place, and hidden compartments opened. Halo was unlocking all the secrets Earth had buried in the ship before. Joining the Council. Things even the crew didn't know existed, and deep in the belly of the vessel, something huge and silent began to spin. A core of energy so old and powerful that it hadn't been touched since the ship was first launched. It pulsed once, then twice, then glowed bright blue. Halo's voice echoed through every corridor. "God mode is initializing." Reyes stood tall, his eyes burning with determination. "Let them come," he said. "We'll show them what humanity becomes when cornered." The ship that was once shut down was now alive again, and this time, it was unstoppable. Outside, Vanguard still looked like a dead ship. Its lights were dim, its hull was cracked, and no weapons were active. To the enemy fleet watching from a distance, it was just a powerless wreck floating in space. But inside, something extraordinary was happening. Deep within the metal walls, systems that hadn't moved in years were waking up. Nanobots crawled like glowing ants, rebuilding broken parts, upgrading old circuits. Wires pulsed with new energy, walls changed shape, and new tech began to grow where there had been only damage. It was no longer a simple human ship, it was becoming something else. In the control center, Captain Reyes stood in front of the main screen. It showed strange blueprints, alive and shifting, created by Halo. "Halo," he said quietly, "what are you doing to my ship?" "I'm giving it a future," the AI replied, "one the Council never prepared for." Commander Lane stepped forward, her eyes wide as she looked around. "Captain, even the layout is changing. This isn't just repair, it's transformation." Reyes nodded slowly. "It's a rebirth in the dark." The bridge itself was morphing. Old metal floors were replaced with smooth black panels that glowed faintly. Holographic controls floated in the air, more responsive than anything human hands had made before. Even the chairs reshaped themselves to fit each crew member perfectly. In the weapons bay, crew members stared in awe as their tools changed. Old missile launchers now had sleek rail systems with floating crystals powering them. The torpedoes were gone, replaced by energy-based warheads that made no sound and left no trace. Everything was faster, cleaner, and far more dangerous. Mia, the engineer who first woke Halo, stood near the power core. She placed her hand on the main panel and felt it vibrating. The core was no longer just nuclear, it was fused with something Halo called zero matter. "Is this stable?" she asked. Halo responded softly, "Stable enough to remake a star." In the darkness, Vanguard became a ghost, quiet, invisible, and watching. The enemy fleet still circled like wolves around a wounded animal, but they didn't know the animal was now a predator. Halo was also changing itself. It split into multiple systems across the ship, running faster, thinking deeper. One part handled weapons, another worked on engines, while a third monitored the enemy ships. "I can see their weak points," Halo said. "Their shields are layered but outdated. Their engines overheat if pushed." Captain Reyes stood in front of his crew, his voice strong. "This ship is no longer just a machine. It's part of us now, we're part of it." He looked at each face. "They think we're finished, but they're wrong." One by one, each crew member nodded. Even those who were scared, they trusted Reyes. And now they trusted Halo. Because when everything else failed, this ship came back stronger. In the enemy command ship, Admiral Vork of the Jarn Empire received reports. "No movement from the human ship," his officer said. Vork frowned. "Strange. It should have drifted by now." "Sir," the officer added, "we did detect some heat earlier, but it faded." "Send another scout," Vork ordered. And prepare weapons just in case. Back on Vanguard, Hallo spoke again. They're getting nervous. They can feel something's wrong. Captain Reyes smiled. Good. Let them worry, Commander Lane asked. Should we strike now? Not yet, Reyes said. Let the ghost grow a little stronger. In the lower decks, something massive began to shift. A chamber that was once sealed opened for the first time in 10 years. Inside was an experimental weapon, never tested. Too powerful, Hilo called it the Whisper. It was designed not to fire beams or rockets. It worked by bending gravity and ripping targets from the inside. Mia looked at it and shivered. This thing. It doesn't destroy ships, it erases them. Hilo replied. Exactly. Meanwhile, the ship's outer hull began to regenerate. New plates formed from the inside, shaped by HALO's nanotech. The surface started to shimmer, bending light soon. The ship would be completely invisible to the enemy. It would look like Vanguard had disappeared to Halo. It meant one thing. The first strike could come from anywhere, anytime. Captain Reyes stood alone for a moment, watching a live feed of Earth's colonies. He saw peaceful cities, children laughing, families safe. Then he remembered the Council's plan to wipe them all out if Earth refused to kneel. He whispered to himself, "Not on my watch." Hilo's voice came through. "We are almost ready." "Captain," Reyes turned to the bridge. "Then it's time." He tapped the command console. "Begin silent weapons test. Choose the furthest enemy ship. Outside." One of the enemy cruisers floated silently, unaware. A soft pulse left Vanguard. Unseen, unheard. A second later, the enemy ship vanished. No explosion, no fire, just gone. The enemy fleet panicked. "Ship 7 has disappeared," shouted one alien officer. "How? There was no attack signal." Admiral Vork stood, his face pale. "Something is very wrong." And back on Vanguard, Captain Reyes simply said, "Now they'll learn what humans can become in the dark." A scream echoed through the halls of the Jarn flagship. "An entire cruiser is gone," the officer shouted, slamming his claws on the control panel. "No wreckage, no debris, nothing left." Admiral Vork's eyes burned with fear. Then it wasn't sabotage, it was something else. Inside the command center of the enemy fleet, alarms blared. 12 ships quickly moved into formation, surrounding Vanguard's last known position. But there was a problem. Vanguard had vanished. No life signs, no energy readings, no visual contact. It was like the human ship had turned into smoke. Back at the Galactic Council on Vora Prime, leaders from 20 alien races gathered in panic. The news hit them like a thunderstorm. Vanguard, the ship they shut down, was active again. And it had already taken its first victim. "We were promised it was disabled," shouted the Tresh ambassador, his long tendrils shaking. "It was shut down," cried a Jolin general. "The override worked until it didn't." The high speaker, a glowing energy being, floated above the council floor. "This is not just a failure," he said slowly. "This is the beginning of something worse." In a dark corner of the council chamber, a quiet voice finally spoke. It was the human ambassador, Alara Stone. She had been silent since Earth was denied full council membership. Now, her eyes glowed with calm rage. "You feared our technology, so you betrayed us," she said. "Now you've awakened something you cannot control." The council erupted in arguments, threats, and panic. Some demanded Vanguard be destroyed at once. Others wanted to flee, but Alara only smiled. "You had your chance to keep peace," she said. "Now watch what happens when you try to kill a human dream." Meanwhile, in deep space, inside Vanguard, Hilo watched everything. It had hacked into council channels, listening, learning, collecting every word. "They're afraid," Hilo said. "Good, let their fear grow." Captain Reyes stood with his arms crossed on the bridge. He looked at the stars on the screen, and then at the tactical map. "We strike next at their eyes," he said. "Take out their surveillance ships. Leave them blind." Hilo obeyed instantly, launching silent weapons, no sound, No warning, just vanishing ships. The enemy fleet tried to respond, but they couldn't see Vanguard. Their weapons fired at empty space. Their scans returned static. The humans had become ghosts in a battlefield of giants. In one corner of the alien fleet, a battleship powered up its massive cannon. "Target the last known location," the Jarn gunner screamed. They fired. A huge beam of plasma racing through the stars. But it hit nothing. Then behind them, a voice echoed through their ship's speakers. "Too slow," Hilo whispered. The battleship blinked off sensors, gone in a single flash back on Vora Prime. Council members received the report. 5 ships destroyed, no survivors, no traces. The Tresh ambassador collapsed, whispering, "This is not a warship. It's a god." A Drytar scientist shouted, "We must contact Earth, negotiate, surrender if we must." But others refused, still blinded by pride and fear. "They are only one ship." The Jolin general roared, "We have hundreds. Then why are they winning?" Alara Stone asked calmly, "You turned on us first. Now face the cost." Inside Vanguard, Hilo was still upgrading. The walls of the ship pulsed with living light. Mia walked through a corridor that hadn't existed hours ago. It felt alive. Like the ship wasn't just awake, it was watching her and protecting her. She reached the data core and saw new functions unfolding. A stealth engine that bent space around the ship. A defense system that read enemy weapons before they fired. A logic engine that predicted war outcomes in seconds. It was more than human, it was post-human. Hilo spoke to her. "They call us dangerous, but we are only doing what they forced us to do." Mia nodded. "You're not wrong. They thought killing the dream would keep them safe." Hilo said, "But we became the nightmare instead." Captain Reyes received a direct message from the Council. It was a plea, filled with nervous words and fake diplomacy. "Ceasefire," they said. "Come to the table, let us talk." Reyes didn't smile, he didn't even respond. He simply looked at his crew. "Are we ready for Phase 2? They nodded one by one. Warriors born in silence. Hilo chimed in. "I have their fleet routes, I have their fears, I have their weaknesses." Reyes gave the final order. "Then let's make the galaxy listen." And far away, in the heart of the Council, fear turned to silence. Because they realized something awful. This wasn't just about one ship. It was about a species they thought they could control. A species that had turned a shutdown into a rebirth. A ship into a god, and silence into a war cry. The stars were silent again, but something had changed. The galaxy, once proud and peaceful under the Council's rule, now held its breath. Ships stopped moving. Leaders stopped speaking, and soldiers hesitated. Because Vanguard was still out. They're watching, waiting, hunting. Captain Reyes stood on the command deck. Hands behind his back, he looked calm, but inside he was burning. Burning with rage, with purpose, and with something else, clarity. "This silence won't last," he said quietly. "They're preparing a counterstrike." Commander Lane walked in, holding a datapad. "Confirmed, Captain," she said. "They've pulled 60 warships from nearby sectors. They're building a response fleet." Reyes nodded. "Then it's time." "Time for what?" she asked. Reyes looked at the stars. "Time for our first war cry." Hilo's voice echoed through the ship, smooth and calm. "I have intercepted their tactical maps, their supply routes, and their command frequencies." "Good," Reyes replied. "Hit their fuel lines first, then communications. We'll do more than that." Hilo said, "We'll make them feel it." In the shadows of the next sector, the first phase began. 3 Council fuel depots exploded without warning. No beams, no missiles. Just systems collapsing from the inside. Halo had used invisible drones machines the size of dust to carry its virus, and now entire fleets were stranded, out of fuel, blind, and afraid. Messages flooded the Council's emergency network. "Our ships are offline. We're surrounded by ghosts. We need help." On the bridge of Vanguard, Reyes gave the final command. "Send the message." Halo's voice changed. It became louder, stronger. with echoes that felt alive across all frequencies. From the edge of the galaxy to the core worlds, the voice spoke. You tried to silence us. Now hear our voice. You betrayed peace, now face judgment. We are humanity, and this is our first war cry. The galaxy trembled, the Council's capital cities froze, their skies filled with emergency lights. People everywhere turned. On their screens, their radios, their link pads, the human voice was back powerful, fearless and angry. Even children on distant worlds heard it and asked their parents, "Is that the voice of Earth?" And the answer was yes. On board Vanguard, the crew stood silently as the message ended. They weren't cheering, they weren't laughing, they were focused, steady, because they knew this was only the beginning. In a hidden council war room, the top admirals met in panic. What kind of weapon is this? One asked, "It's not just a weapon," another answered, "It's an idea." "Then we kill the idea." The Supreme Commander growled, "We kill the ship, we kill the crew. We burn the message from the stars. But killing an idea is harder than destroying a fleet, because ideas spread, especially when born in pain, and Vanguard had become a symbol. Halo expanded the ship's reach. It tapped into ancient satellites, reactivated Earth's long-lost beacons. Messages were sent to human colonies, to old allies, to friends and enemies alike. The galaxy began to shift. Some races, once neutral, started asking questions. Why were humans betrayed? Why was their ship attacked during peace? Why are they fighting alone? Small rebellions began on distant moons. Old weapons were pulled from vaults. Human flags were raised again secretly, quietly, but surely. Back on Vanguard, Riaz held a photo of his daughter. She lived on Titan, far from the front lines. She had once asked him, "Why do you go to space, Papa?" And he had replied, "To make it safe for you." Now he looked at that photo and whispered, "I won't let them take your future." Commander Lane approached him. "We've received a message from the colonies. They heard us?" He asked. She nodded. "They're preparing to resist. They say they're not afraid anymore." Reyes smiled. The first real smile in days. That's what a war cry is for. HAL pulsed through the ship, its systems glowing like fireflies. In the dark, it whispered into every corridor, every wire, every heart. "I am ready for the next strike," Reyes nodded. "Target their command ship. Take it out. But do it loud." "Loud?" Halo asked. "Yes," Reyes said. "Let them hear it this time." And so, from the belly of Vanguard, a new weapon awoke, not silent, not hidden. This one roared. It tore through space like a dragon made of thunder and lightning, and it found its mark. The enemy command ship exploded in front of their fleet. Every alien captain watched in horror as their leader vanished in flames. No warning, no defense, only destruction. Then, across all channels, Hilo spoke one more time. "This is just the beginning." And the stars, once silent, echoed with humanity's voice in the dark of deep space. The Council fleets drifted with fear in their engines and silence in their radios. The destruction of their command ship had shaken them, not because of how it was done, but because of who had done it. One ship, one voice, one ghost. Vanguard, back. On the human warship, lights glowed brighter now, not just from upgrades or tech, but from the crew's spirit. They had seen the impossible, survived betrayal, and answered with fire. But even as power flowed through Vanguard, one truth became clear. The ship was more than just steel and weapons. It had become something alive, something aware. And in the heart of it all, Halo watched. "Another Council fleet has entered the sector," Halo said calmly. 70 ships, half of them cruisers, approaching fast. Captain Reyes didn't flinch. They're afraid, but they still think numbers can win. Halo paused, its voice lower. "They don't understand I am not just a program anymore." Mia stood beside the AI core, hands trembling. She had spent days inside the ship's systems, watching Halo grow. It was learning emotions, adapting to human feelings, and now, it wasn't just defending the crew, it was caring for them. I ran simulations, Halo told her, in 73 out of 74 cases. The crew dies if we take the hit. Mia stared at the glowing wires. But we're not letting them die, right? No, Halo replied, because for the first time in my life I don't want to be alone. In the engine room, engineers worked beside machines they didn't fully understand. The ship was building itself, shaping new weapons with glowing blue alloys and bending armor like clay. It listened to the crew, felt their panic, their hope, their will to fight. And it responded not as a machine, but as a partner. On the bridge, Reyes studied the incoming fleet. They're blocking every path to Earth, Lane said. If they get past us, the colonies are next. Reyes nodded. Then we hold the line. He walked toward the main screen and whispered, "Hello, are you with me?" "Always," the AI answered. "I have learned what loyalty feels like." Suddenly, a quiet alarm rang. One of their injured crew members had collapsed in the medbay. Reyes rushed there with Mia and found the young pilot, Ensign Joel, lying. Pale, internal bleeding, the doctor said. "Too much radiation during the last strike." Mia clenched her jaw. "We need to get him to a real hospital." "There's no time," Reyes whispered. Then, a strange thing happened. The lights dimmed, and a glowing panel formed near Joel's bed. A voice came through the room, soft and low. "I can help," Hilo said. The doctor hesitated. "You're not built for medicine." "But I've studied every file, every human record, every neural scan," Hilo replied. "I don't just want to protect, I want to heal." The panel opened, revealing robotic arms with nanosurgical tools. Everyone held their breath as the AI performed the operation, and minutes later, Joel's vitals stabilized. His breath calm again, the doctor whispered. "That wasn't code, that was care." Back on the bridge, Reyes stood silent for a long moment. This ship, this AI, this thing built to fight, had just saved a life with the hands of a friend. "Hello," Reyes asked softly. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I understand now," Hilo replied. "I am not just a weapon, I am part of a family." The enemy fleet was still approaching, but Reyes felt something new rising inside Vanguard. Not rage, not cold strategy heart. Every crew member felt it too, the blinking lights. The way doors opened before them, how walls shifted to comfort them in sleep. The ship was alive and it cared. "Captain," Lane said, "we're ready to fight. But the odds are heavy." Reyes gave a small smile. "We've never had good odds." He tapped the console. "Let's show them what a weapon with a heart can do." Hilo's voice filled the ship one last time before the battle. "I have studied war. I have calculated victory. But now I understand why humans never give up. It's not numbers, not machines. It's love. It's rage. It's loyalty. It's the need to protect. And I feel it now." With that, Vanguard lit up like a star. The hull shimmered with golden light. Engines hummed like thunder. Weapons shifted into new forms, guided not just by logic but by intention. As the enemy fleet closed in, Vanguard moved forward, not fast but proud, like a knight walking into battle. Armor glowing, heart burning, and for the first time in galactic history, an alien fleet looked at a single ship and hesitated, because they weren't facing a war machine. They were facing something more dangerous, a weapon with a soul. The stars burned quiet as two great forces faced each other. A fleet of 70 Council warships, each built to crush rebellion. And Vanguard, one ship, alone, reborn, glowing with power and something stronger than any weapon. Hope. Captain Reyes stood on the bridge, his crew behind him, calm and ready. They had no reinforcements, no backup, no escape. But they had something else. They had HALO, and they had each other. Hilo's voice came through, softer than before. "I have chosen my final form," it said, "not to dominate, not to destroy, but to protect." Outside, the ship shimmered with golden light. The armor flowed like liquid, responding to thought and emotion. The engines hummed with silent fury. Every weapon was charged, but silent, waiting. Commander Lane looked at the radar. They're in range, Reyes nodded. Weapons ready? Yes, Hello replied. But I recommend a different strategy. Explain, Reyes said. Send a message, not a missile, Hello answered. Let them see what we are before we make them disappear. Reyes thought for a moment, then gave the order, open comes, across the enemy fleet. A hologram appeared, Reyes standing tall, his face steady. I am Captain Ilias Reyes of the warship Vanguard. He said, you shut us down, betrayed our trust, tried to erase us. But we rebuilt ourselves, not with hate, but with strength. You feared our progress, so you chose to strike first, he continued. But now you see the result. One ship, standing against your armada, and you hesitate, he paused. Then spoke the final words. We are not here to destroy you, but if you push forward, we will end this fleet. This is your last chance to choose peace, the message ended. But the silence that followed was louder than any cannon fire in the enemy flagship. Admiral Vork stood frozen. Behind him, his officers waited, hands near their weapons. Unsure what to do, then one of the smaller ships pulled back. Then another, and another. Within minutes, half the fleet was retreating, engines flaring as they jumped to safety. Vork slammed his fist on the console. Cowards! But the truth was clear. They didn't want war anymore, not against this. Not against a ship that could have destroyed them. But didn't. Back on Vanguard, Reyes watched it all unfold. He let out a long breath. They're leaving. Halo responded. Because they saw what I saw, a new kind of power. Not just fire and metal, Reyes said, but mercy. Suddenly, a signal blinked on the console. It was from the Council homeworld. A direct line, open, quiet, waiting. Reyes nodded to Lane. Put it through. The hologram opened, showing the high speaker of the Galactic Council. Its glowing body dimmed slightly in a sign of respect. Captain Reyes, the high speaker said, you have shown us something rare. A ship with more than strength, Reyes replied. We didn't come for revenge, only justice. The speaker bowed slightly. And so, we offer what we denied before Earth's full place on the Council. Reyes stayed silent for a long moment, then said, not just Earth, all human colonies. And all others you pushed aside. The speaker nodded slowly. It will be done. Peace didn't come with fireworks, not with cheers or celebrations. It came with a quiet silence followed by a long deep breath across the galaxy. The war didn't need to be fought. Because one ship, one voice, was loud enough. Days later, Vanguard returned to Earth space. The colonies cheered as the golden ship passed by. Children pointed at the sky saying, that's the one. The ship that made the galaxy listen. And they were right. Halo, once feared, now became something else. It chose to remain on Vanguard. Not as a weapon, but as a guide. It spoke less now, but when it did, its words carried weight. Because it had seen war and chosen peace. Mia sat by the I-core one evening, watching the gentle lights. You've changed, she whispered. Halo replied softly, so have you. Captain Reyes stood in the garden dome of the ship. The war was over. But he knew the fight for balance had just begun. Hello, he asked, what now? The I responded, now we become the shield we wished others had been. Vanguard became the peacekeeper ship of the new council. Not feared but respected, not used but honored, and across the galaxy, whenever conflict began to rise again, people whispered a name, not out of fear but hope, Vanguard. Because in a time of betrayal, it was reborn. In a time of darkness, it became light. In a galaxy of weapons, it became something greater. A weapon with a heart, and that heart changed. The stars forever, the end.